Welcome into Channel BSR's post-game live. We're very post-game this evening. I'm Jake English from the Bird's Eye View podcast. I'm here with Scott Magness, also of the Bird's Eye View podcast. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, Jake. I'm your big boy. Let's get started and go through the lovely totals.
They're lovely totals. The Orioles won today in a thrilling 8-6 victory. The Orioles took the series from the Red Sox after taking the opener and dropping game number 2. The game took place at 1:30 in the afternoon, which was terrible for anybody who has to work for a living. So if you didn't catch it, let's tell you all about it. Looking at the box score, first and foremost, you got a win from Miguel Gonzalez. You have a loss for Eduardo Rodriguez. And Scotty, I didn't think that happened.
It's been happening well, actually, this is his first loss. You're right. But this comes back to the whole thing of wins and losses. Kind of, what's the point? I'd rather look at the statistics over his past few starts. And I saw a statistic today on Twitter indicating that his ERA over his past 3 starts was upwards of above 16. So that's not a good sign. This is also his shortest outing of his career to this date in 6 starts. So an interesting scenario with Eduardo Rodriguez. So the first 3 innings against the Baltimore Orioles, he had pitched them to a perfect game and thrown 5 strikeouts. And then, well, things blew up in the 4th inning. It was like a 6th inning for Bud Norris, basically, for Eduardo Rodriguez out there.
All right, so he's not superhuman. Apparently, he does come back to earth. Does that make you feel any better about trading for Andrew Miller?
No, he's still a left-handed pitcher that is a starter and can command a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. He's still a very good player. It's just going to be a matter of him adapting to the situation. He might need to go back down to AAA, Pawtucket, get some further seasoning, but in the future, he could be a solid contributor. I said this before. I don't think he's an ace for this team for the Red Sox, but I could see him as a solid number 3, number 4, number 5 starter for that team, which the Orioles have shown you can do a lot of damage with that kind of pitching staff.
A number 5 starter in this league is not a bad thing. And to acquire a young number 5 starter for a rental would be a total coup for the Red Sox.
Yes. For a cash-strapped small market team, that would be a coup. But for a team that spends upwards of $160 million, maybe not that big of a deal.
All right, fair enough. I'll take that. Gazing into the box score, a lot of activity offensively from the Orioles. Everybody gets hits today with the exception of David Lowe, who had an at-bat late as a defensive replacement, and Ryan Flaherty.
And to be fair, David Lowe did get on base, but it was via an error. But it was a very well-hit ball, but Mike Napoli butchered the play at first base.
Sure. And similarly, Ryan Flaherty was not credited with a hit, but he did have an RBI, so he did contribute to the game. RBIs aplenty. 1 from Machado, 2 from Weers on that home run, 1 from Davis, 2 from Hardy, and as I indicated, 1 from Flaherty. So it was an interesting attack. Like you said, they got perfectoed through the first 3 innings and then broke out offensively. One of the things Zach and I talked about, I'm going to repeat it because I'm sure nobody watches this thing. One of the things Zach and I talked about on Tuesday night's post-game show was that it was nice to see the Orioles tack on runs after they took a lead, and it ended up being significant in the 9th inning of that game on Tuesday. Here was another game where tack-on insurance runs also ended up being very significant.
Definitely a premium today. The one big play that I think that is being overlooked to a certain regard is the Weeders home run, of course, was a huge blow to them. But J.J. Hardy coming up in that similar inning and putting a 2 RBI double to raise the score to 5-1. In reality, that should have put the game away to a certain regard. But of course, Miguel Gonzalez didn't allow that to happen. But there was a lot of tack-on opportunities here in terms of runs being scored. Just a really great, don't take your foot off the pedal and constantly put runs on there. There were instances, though, where they could have tacked on more runs. I remember referring back to the 9th inning, of course, where, bases loaded, 1 out, and, David Lowe gets thrown out at the plate on a great throw by Jackie Bradley Jr.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely tough to watch. And to your point, runs being at a premium, I feel like you can never score enough runs at Fenway Park. There's something about playing the Red Sox at home where, whether they're good or bad, it's just a dangerous place to play. Crazy stuff happens in that park for the home team. So it was good to see the Orioles tack on the runs and get a win.
And it almost makes you want to, stand at first base and put your hands on your hips and shake your head in disbelief that certain things happen in that stadium.
Dude, watching the David Ortiz reactions, he's possibly the best part of beating the Red Sox. I don't know if you saw the tweets on Tuesday night.
So, Jake, are you saying that was your highlight, basically?
My highlight is the sadness of David Ortiz. There are so few pure and beautiful thrills as watching David Ortiz and David Ortiz's ego suffer a defeat. What about you, Scotty? What was your highlight of this game?
I'm going to have to go back to Matt Wieters' home run. For a team that is having such a difficult time here of, having Adam Jones out of the lineup, superstars are going to need to step up. Manny Machado has been absolutely in fuego lately, but it's good to see other players like Matt Wieters joining in and assisting this offense while Jones is out of the lineup. So Matt Wieters gets my tip the cap.
Sorry, I think I read today that was his first home run at Fenway.
Oh, that's kind of cool stat.
And interesting considering that not only has he been in the league since 2009, but also the Orioles have owned the Red Sox in the short term since 2011. But an interesting item, I guess.
I like that.
What about you for low lights for this particular game? What have you got low light wise?
Let's see. My low light's gonna have to be the one play where Parmelee and Young collided. Just a poor communication play, and honestly, I'm just not seeing whatsoever any benefit that Delman Young currently has. Definitely not an outfielder that you would want out there. And I know people are going to come back and maybe say, well, he's doing really well in terms of outfield assists, but that's not a stat that I really want to, thrive on. Delman Young, in my opinion, I'm not sure if he needs to be on this team any longer.
I'm definitely starting to agree with you, especially when you look at the dearth of outfielders that the Orioles have. I mean, I think it's 6 or 7 at this point if you count Young as an outfielder. And something's got to give.
Especially with the roster crunch coming tomorrow with Chen coming up, but also you have the situation too where Jonathan Scope was pulled tonight in Bowie after only 6 innings. So there's a possibility that 2 players could be coming up, and the question is, how do you make the room for it? Which has been the question that all Orioles fans have been talking that are in the know.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because I think 2 particular players have been playing for their spots on the team and have responded well. The first is Travis Snyder, whom I was shocked to see had such a good couple of games. It seems like whenever I see him, I expect him to do poorly. But over the last week or so, he really has performed admirably. And then Steve Pearce, who I thought was very, very much in danger, despite what my heart tells me, of running himself off of this roster, had a good day today. And in the limited at-bats that he's gotten recently has done well. So it'll be interesting to see what those decisions are because Buck Showalter is a big track record guy. And all of those guys seem to have a track record, maybe minus Travis Snyder, who hasn't played on this club for very long.
Jake, never besmirch the name of Steve Pearce ever again while you and I are talking. If so, this may come to fisticuffs. So let's not let that happen again, okay?
Dude, I will cry the tears that Steve Pearce had in his eyes during the post-game show of the post-game interviews in the ALCS and ALDS. I don't want the guy to go. I just needed him to play better. Speaking of people we needed to play better, my low light for the game is a short outing from Miguel Gonzalez. He's a guy that can be depended on for deep starts. He's a guy that can be depended upon in big games in the AL East, and I don't think we really saw that from him today. Maybe it's rust. Maybe it's still coming back off the injury. Maybe it's just that magic of the Red Sox playing at home and they can really tax a starter. But I would have liked to see more from Miguel Gonzalez today.
And we could say that about any single other Orioles pitcher for the past month. But regardless of that, and we look at innings pitched, and there's a lot of hullabaloo right now over a lot of Orioles fans. They're like, Orioles starters aren't going deep enough. They're not getting quality starts. But if you look at, their ERA over this month, they're 7th best in Major League Baseball. Now their FIP, for example, Jake, that we always talk about, is at the very bottom of the league. And it's so eerily similar to last year where there was such this ERA FIP deviation. It'll be interesting to see if the Orioles can continue that. But again, you're seeing great defense with the Orioles, and you're seeing, okay pitching. And again, it's translating to great ERA, but not great deep inning counts with lots of strikeouts, which, again, defensive independent pitching statistics will eat up every single day.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit about the homer. We talked about the scorching Manny Machado. We talked about the single from Hardy, which plated 2 runs. One of the things I thought was interesting, and again, back to my disappointment, was the Orioles scored some runs in the 4th inning, turned right around in the bottom of that inning, and let the Red Sox back in the game by none other than an old friend, Alejandro De Aza.
That's baseball for you. I mean, you kind of could see that coming up and happening. But yeah, the Diaza home run was unfortunate. The bigger issue with that was how that inning transpired with just, hits and hit by pitches and stuff like that. Unfortunate, but you just shrug it off and say, okay, this is why you have to keep adding runs on. And the Orioles did respond in that fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Eventually, the Red Sox pulled it as close as 8-6, but no further. And then Zach Britton came on for the 9th. Now, I don't think this is something we've talked about on our show in much detail, but Scott, I wanted to get your opinion on what's going on with Zach Britton. Is this a situation where Orioles fans need to be concerned, or do we need to calm ourselves down as far as Zach Britton looking awfully imperfect in the 9th inning of late?
You mean with his walks?
With his walks, giving up a hit now and again, not having very many clean 9th innings.
Oh my God. I mean, if he's not going to pitch a 9-pitch 9th inning, I mean, there's definitely trouble in paradise. I mean, it's not like this team has ever, seen the likes of, I don't know, Kevin Gregg or Michael Gonzalez or George Sherrill with the cardiac arrest. Folks, Zach Britton is amazing. 80% ground balls over his past 5 starts. Yeah, maybe he's not getting the strikeouts he was earlier this season, and maybe he is walking a few more people. But I'm not going to even be close to pushing the panic button right now. Even if he blows the save, it's going to happen. But Zach Britton is one of the best relievers in Major League Baseball right now. I'd put him in the top 5 of any Major League Baseball relievers. He's just amazing.
Okay. I'm not calling him a bum. I'm just curious as to whether or not that's a discussion that warrants merit. It's interesting because Zach Britton has recorded his 17th consecutive save, I believe, is the stat. And it's interesting because that can happen and you can get out of trouble. I remember Tommy Hunter, when he was the Orioles closer, had a series of consecutive saves, but it was all by the seat of his pants, if you will. Zach Britton is definitely not in that territory yet. He's definitely not in Jim Johnson territory either. He's a guy that can do it with the strikeout, but doesn't require it. So definitely good to have him at the back end of the bullpen. Scotty, what else? Is there anything that I've missed about this game that took place that's worth pointing out?
Sure. If we've got a chance, actually, can we just go back to Tommy Hunter really quickly? Because I want to touch base with him. I thought he did a great job coming in today and effectively being dominant and shutting the door. Jake, I want to go through Tommy Hunter's numbers for June. So he's come in, pitched 10 innings, actually 11 innings after today. He's pitched to a .9 ERA, 7.2 walks per 9 innings, and only .9 walks per 9 innings. Tommy Hunter, as much as people like to say, oh my gosh, he's going to go boom, has been dominant out of the bullpen over this past month. It's great to see. It's great for him. I think, a lot of people are reminded last year of when he lost the closer spot because he gave up home runs. But Tommy Hunter is a great bullpen asset. And folks need to stop riding him so hardly in the process.
Yeah, we're definitely a big fan of Tommy Hunter's at Bird's Eye View. I mean, I know I agree. The immediate response when he comes in is pray that he doesn't go boom. But Tommy Hunter can do so many things for you. First of all, yeah, you can call him a failed starter if you will, but he still has the repertoire, which means that whereas he can rear back and get the 97, 98 mile an hour heat, he's also got the breaking stuff, and he's got a couple of different looks of breaking stuff. Doesn't always use it, but enough to keep you honest. The other thing is that Tommy Hunter can give you innings if you need it. He can give you 2-point-something innings if he's pressed into service. But as a setup guy, he can just come in and absolutely blow you away.
Totally agree. And he's also been relying more on that breaking ball, which was something that he was working on last year. Got into somewhat of a danger, but he's really kind of mastered that to a certain regard this year and has been very impressive in my opinion. Jake, just to throw one more stat out, Tommy Hunter, 0.58 home runs per 9 innings. That's less than Darren O'Day. That's less than Brad Brock. It's right there with Chaz Rowe, who has been absolutely impressive so far this season at 0.47. So with Chaz Rowe and Tommy Hunter and Zach Britton there, along with Darren O'Day, those are four excellent bullpen arms right now that the Orioles have. And that's going to put them in a great situation going down the stretch run. But also, if the playoffs do come out, having four strong arms like that is going to be great for many series.
All right. Let me ask you about what we saw from TJ McFarland today. McFarland, I feel, is also a lightning rod on this club. People say either he's a bum and he has no place, or that he's the second coming. Today, the Orioles got 2 innings out of him. He technically got the hold, if you care about such a stat. He gave up 2 earned runs and struck out 1 while walking none.
I think he did all right. I wouldn't say it was great, but he held it close. He pitched aggressive because he had the lead, but he also gave up 2 runs. So I'll give it a great job. We didn't have to bring in 4 relievers in order to basically do it. TJ McFarland was able to pitch 2 innings and save a little bit of room in the bullpen, but I wouldn't class it up as, yeah, he's a great pitcher.
Sure. He's probably found his role. Up and down, quadruple A player, gives you meaningful innings at the major league level, can do it, can go long if you need to, a spot start here and there, come in as a lefty specialist, what have you. He's a guy that can occasionally gets out of the majors, and that's valuable enough, I guess.
He's a pseudo longman. It would be a question of, next year when, there's a lot more availability out of the bullpen, a lot more AAA arms that are going to come up, perhaps even Dylan Bundy, who is going to have to work out of that longman spot. Is TJ McFarland going to have a place on this team? I don't know the answer, but definitely something that I wouldn't classify him as, a big asset going forward for this team now or in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Defensively, the only note that I had, which is something you already touched on, was that throw in the 9th inning to get low at the plate. Seems to me like it probably would have worked if Windmill had sent Hardy, but since he sent the fast runner, of course it didn't work out for him.
It's more of a situation of Jackie Bradley Jr. just has a cannon for an arm. It was reminded on Twitter today that Jackie Bradley Jr. Last year stood behind home plate and threw the ball over the center field wall at Fenway Park. So yeah, the man's got a cannon. It's simple as that.
And that's no small feat at Fenway. I mean, I think the triangle goes out to 420 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, so the man's got an arm. So to think that a shallow fly ball was going to allow them to score, it's probably not likely, but you have to put the pressure on him to make an accurate throw. And, well, he did. So that's why he got out. I think, though, if we're going to talk about defense, there's 2 plays or 2 people that we need to talk about in defense-wise. Number one, of course, is the Steve Pearce catch that we've already kind of referred to. Great catch. Good way to protect yourself as well. But the bigger thing that I think was interesting was I think Chris Parmelee had a really nice game at first base. He did have the one error in the 9th inning where the ball kind of plopped off his glove and went into right field. But Chris Parmelee had a really amazing game, I thought, at first base. Could be something interesting to keep an eye on, folks, because Chris Parmelee would be under club control through another 3 years after this date. Be interesting to see if Chris Parmelee could be an option at first base come 2016.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think he's going to be in that mix. I think the Orioles need to start making some plans for the post Chris Davis world, and he's definitely a guy that could be in that mix. When you talked about the Steve Pearce catch, actually, when I saw that replay, the first thing I thought of was Hanley Ramirez crashing into that wall and hurting his shoulder. And so I think you're spot on when you said the best part about that play was the fact that he was all right through it. But yeah, Chris Parmelee made a leaping catch earlier in the game. I don't remember which inning it was, but he looked pretty good out there at first base. I didn't realize that he could pick it as well as hit it.
He's got some pretty good skill out there at first base. Definitely more of a first baseman than an outfielder, although he's held his own as an outfielder as well. But having that kind of versatility similar to what Steve Pearce has, that's definitely an attribute that Buck likes to have on his roster. So I don't think Chris Parmelee is going anywhere anytime soon.
All right, well, we've done the pitching, the hitting, and the defense. Anything else you want to add before we go to our bottom line takeaways?
Nope, that's about it.
All right, what do you have for how did this game make you feel, Scott? What do you got for us?
Bottom line takeaway is keep winning series. You win series, it's going to be great. Yeah, it's unfortunate that the Orioles lost yesterday and broke that consecutive streak at Fenway Park. But you know what? When that happens, it's just time to start a new streak at Fenway. We got one game now at Fenway. let's get back to 6 again.
I like it. The other thing about yesterday that was kind of nice is that the Orioles tanked and lost a game, and it didn't really feel that bad because you didn't think that it was just the first of many to come. I feel like in April and May and in the first part of June, it seemed like if you lost a game, it was sure that the Orioles were just going to fall into a losing streak. But
everyone was happy that Dustin Pedroia got hurt. So, I mean,
I'm not going that far, but the Orioles are playing good ball, even dropping a couple here. My bottom line takeaway is how nice is it to not be the Red Sox? The Red Sox spent a ton of money in the offseason, and they got nothing to show for it, and it's a delight to watch.
All right. So resetting for tomorrow, Orioles are coming back home to Baltimore. Are going to be facing the Cleveland Indians for a 3-game series on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night, we will see Wei and Chen activated to pitch on Friday night. I guess that'll make Scott Boras happy. And he will be going against Cy Young winner Corey Kluber, who is not having a great season in terms of wins and losses. He's currently 3-9, but is posting a respectable 3.65 ERA.
All right, fair enough. Can we briefly chat about this Indian series? Because I feel like there's so much going on that we need to talk about. First of all, anybody that follows Orioles social media should know this. I am sick of seeing the Buck Showalter gnome. When that got announced, I thought, oh, that's a cool giveaway. That's a really nice promotion. And now that I've seen it and seen it and seen it and seen it, no, I'm done. I'm done with the gnome.
It's kind of small. I'm not sure how Buck feels about it only being 3 inches long.
Yikes. It's a gnome. What more do you want?
If it was a Buck Showalter gnome, I'd expect it to be at least 9 inches long.
I'm really sorry I went in this direction, but it's my own fault.
It is.
Also,
can we get back to Corey Kluber?
Go, do it.
All right. So the one thing I really want to talk about Corey Kluber is, people look at that and say, okay, last year he was a Cy Young winner. This year, 3-9. What has happened? And in honesty, you look at, his batted ball profiles and everything. They're pretty much identical. In fact, if you look at his strikeouts and walks, pretty identical. If you look at his fielding independent pitching, 2.35 last year, 2.66 this year, so pretty identical. That 3.65 compared to the 2.66, specifically defense related, but also back to LOB percentage. So he's not stranding as many runners on the base pass. Orioles, once they get runners on the base pass, are going to have to bring them in. In fact, the Orioles are doing great with this in terms of hitting with runners in scoring position lately. Hopefully they can continue that trend. Also, Kluber has been great this year so far with his fastball. Orioles are a great fastball hitting team. If they can get runners on base and hit that fastball, the Orioles should be in good shape, but it's going to require them to get ahead in counts and be watching for that fastball.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, actually. I saw a tweet today. I believe it came from Steve Molesky, noted that the Orioles lead the AL in runners in scoring position batting, and over the last 6 games are batting over 400 in that area. So it's nice to see, particularly because they struggled to score runs early in the season, but it seems like they're starting to click on that, and as you noted, without their best offensive player.
Totally agree. The only thing I'd also say about the Indian series is Baltimore Sports Today with Zach Wilt and Javi Burns will be covering all about the Indian series and a few things here and there that you should know, some little bit of statistics, a little bit of trash talk, maybe even some fantasy recommendations. So I'd recommend everyone check them out at Baltimore Sports Today. You can go subscribe to them on iTunes as well and listen to everything that you need to know about the Indian series.
Man, you plug podcasts really well.
Yeah. It's almost like I do it on my own podcast, which is birdseyeviewbaltimore.com. You should go check it out. Let's just say that we had a little incident on Bird's Eye View this week. Episode 127, was it, Jake? And we discussed what would happen if Dan Duquette tried to hack into the Orioles computer system.
What a great tease.
Yes.
All right, that's going to do it for us tonight from Postgame Live here on BSR. The Orioles won 8-6. Pretty good game all in all. Scott Magness, thanks so much for doing this.
Not a problem, sir.
All right. We'll see you. Baltimore and beyond, I will bid you all a fond adieu.
Good night, Baltimore.